Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Extreme Radio, built by MDI Construction Inc. MDIConst.com for all your commercial property needs, or MDI Construction Inc. on Facebook. For everything commercial property, all of that, go to MDI Construction Inc. Spencer Thompson, James Shannon, and Trent Legate here today for arguably, well, actually not arguably, one of the best weekends we've seen in eight-man football this entire season, pending what we'll see in the Allstar Game next weekend, and we'll talk about that later on the show. But, of course, we have to recap the two games that we were able to call yesterday in Bell Buckle. We'll start with the consolation game between the Falcons of Franklin Christian Academy and the Feet of the Webb School. FCA getting a dominant victory, 58-16 over the Feet. Now, Trent, we weren't calling that game. We were at least seeing that game and seeing how the Webb School was there. Now, an interesting thing that I talked with the bird's eye view guy in the press box next to us who called for Webb. He was saying that nobody on the Webb School wanted to play in the All-Star game. Or the All-Star game. Yeah, nobody on the Webb School wants to play, but but apparently we have people already coming to the All-Star game. Okay, the consolation game. None of the Webb School players wanted to play in the consolation game, and he was a big advocate at the scheduling meeting in January to remove it entirely because of the argument, if you lose in the semis, especially after a grueling game, there's no motivation there. But there's at least one more game played by both teams, by Webb and FCA proved that they wanted to at least get one more victory. And an interesting point I did hear from that as well from FCA is that because it was with them and Webb, they considered, okay, well, because it was a coin toss, it's basically a battle for first place in the South, and FCA had won it every other year, so wanted to keep their dominance, and they did by quickly scoring, I think it was 40 points in the first quarter. I'd have to look at that box score again, but that was a crazy score, and it kind of shows how Webb, unfortunately didn't show up on their home field, Trent.
Yeah, well, you can definitely tell in the first quarter, and all respect to Webb players and the coaches and the program, but just the first quarter made it look like they just weren't ready and they didn't have their hearts fully into it. FCA did, though, and FCA came out there wanting to get a W, bring something back home with them on the bus ride. But one thing I gotta say, the inning score was 58-16, so Webb held them for 18 points. Only 18 points for 3 more quarters, and they scored 16 of their own. But the game wasn't as exciting as I was hoping it was going to be.
Guys, I love Webb, and I love, obviously, people would say I don't love them enough because I didn't pick them a whole bunch this year. But I love Webb, and I love Coach Dorsett, Coach Belbrugge. Obviously we've got guys coming to the All-Star game. But you got to wonder what happened because it really looked like, and I know they took injuries. Emmanuel Anade got hurt. Samar Frey got hurt. They were taking a lot of injuries. But you also have to wonder what happened because they had a lot of hype going into that game against Swanee. A lot of hype. They lost the game. A lot of hype. Okay, we're still in the playoffs. We're good. We're going to play South Haven. I think they overlooked South Haven. Dropped that ball game. And I get how why they might not have wanted to play in the consolation. And I get why they might have been discouraged. And that's understandable. But at the same time, I think if you're a senior, you have to want to play that. You want another ball game. I mean, unless you're a huge basketball player, and it's not like these guys, okay, if you're a senior and you're going to go play basketball and you're not going to play the All-Star game, I get that. But if you're going to play the All-Star game, why not go ahead and play a football game between now and then to stay warm? You take a chance on getting hurt, yeah. But I don't know, Trent. I mean, I know you were this way last year as a senior. You didn't get to play in your last game of the year, other than the All-Star game. But as a senior, to me, you have to want to play every game you can because you're going to look back on it in 10 years and say, man, I wish I played that ball game. I look back at my senior year, and we'll talk about this later, but I hated my senior year the way that CCS did, and some of the guys I know from CCS did. I lost the state championship. We lost the state championship. Now, we went and played national. But I look back now, 6 years later, and I have no regrets about playing football at all. I regret not playing until my senior year, but I have no regrets playing football. And I think as a senior, those guys made the right decision to play in that ball game because they're going to look back in 10 years, and they're going to have no regrets for having played that game.
I'm going to add on to that. And football is just a game of time because it ain't the time you can play football isn't unlimited. You have a certain amount you can play your first snap and play your last, and it's a short time. As you can see in the NFL, most careers don't last for more than 5 to 7 years. So football is a game that's strenuous on the body, and if you love playing it, you can probably play a max of 20 years. And that's like the longest I feel like I can talk about. That's going from like college, I mean not college, high school to NFL retirement. And I have people already that I went to school with, and they came up to me and they say, I don't know what I was doing when I didn't play football. And those are people in my senior class that, it's only been about like close to 2 months or something, and the end of the football season, and they're already regretting never playing football. Everyone's going to look back at this game, all Webb, and they're going to enjoy that they were able to play the last game because, like you said, I wasn't able to play the final quarter whenever I was facing Bowling Green on my senior night. I got kicked out against the Bowling Green team. I wasn't able to play my last quarter of that game. I had to watch my team lose, which I tried really hard to get them to win. And then I had to watch my team lose again against Hendersonville for my last game. And thankfully, though, I had the All-Star game to play my last football game.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of guys are going to be this year. And that's one of the big reasons for doing the All-Star game. We'll talk about it a little bit more later on. But that's one of the biggest reasons for doing that All-Star game is because that gives seniors that maybe lost the last game of their year, guys like from Webb or guys from CCS, or even you look at Bowling Green. We do have seniors from Bowling. Well, no, they won the last game. Guys from Riverside. Take guys like Tanner Sturgis from Hendersonville. Their last game of the year against Riverside, they lost. And it's going to give guys like him and others. And I know we're going to give our roster announcement tomorrow night, but he's going to go. He's one of the better linemen in the MTAC in the conference. But it's going to give him and other seniors a chance to go play one more game and to make just a few more memories. And it's not just the game; it's the whole weekend. That weekend is going to wrap up your football career in high school. And Trent, you were there last year. That had to be one of the best ways to wrap up your football career in high school.
Well, I mean, I only had 6 wins in my whole entire high school career, and that was one of them. So, yeah, I usually don't win. But another thing I want to say, and this isn't just because I have no idea if Webb wanted to play in the game or if they didn't, and I'm not going to say if they did or they didn't. But even people like McCaffrey last year, where he didn't play in his final senior game in the bowl game, that kind of struck me because not everybody gets the chance to be where they're at. Like me, I never once was able to have a chance to play for a trophy, either semis or championship or like in a bowl game scenario. I never had that chance. And that's one of the experiences. I've had many experiences in my football career, and that's one I'll never get. So they don't need to take it for granted because it's a great, feeling to have that chance where, privilege. And a lot of players like me and everybody on my team, we've never had that chance to feel that moment of a playoff game, and you just can't take that feeling for granted.
Is that how the song goes? I usually don't win no matter what. Is that how the song goes? No? Okay.
Hippie.
Yeah, nice job not having your mic unmuted when you said that, James. Try that again.
You can tell you haven't heard that song many times in your life.
Nope, I only listened to Daft Punk in the weekend. All right, let's head right into the best game that... Trent missing the shot in the waste bin trying to get a plastic water bottle in there. But speaking of CCS, they played for the championship against South Haven, and this is by far undisputed. If anybody else wants to try and fight this, all three of us will debate you on it. This is the best game we have seen all year, the best game I've called all year. Same for Trent. He was literally leaning over the edge in the Webb press box at Sir Blaze going, no, how is this happening? But 61-58. The score literally reflects the game. The Patriots, we actually got corrected on this stat. They are the first team in 8-man football history to win 3 conference championships because they won in MTAC last night. They won in the TAACS in 2015.
Don't remind me.
And they won by a smaller conference that James will tell us about in a little bit, a smaller conference that was more in the earlier years of South Haven. What was the name of that conference again, James?
I want to say it was like the SEAC or something like that. It was like the precursor to the TACS. And then when TACS started football, it died because teams like South Haven, Shenandoah, Mount Pisgah, and Mountain View all went to TAC. And then everybody else became independent. But apparently South Haven won a title in that conference. So they're the first one to win a title in 3 different conferences. But still a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, it's amazing how things are corrected to us after the championship or during them. Same with Wells instead of Wallace. Is I've been saying that the whole season and nobody corrected me on that until the championship broadcast. That kind of shows how they weren't paying attention to us beforehand. And now they have to make sure I'm getting these pronunciations right, of course. But Trent, we look at how this game happened last night. You and I were on call in the booth, and we'll get to James as well because he was on the CCS sideline the entire game. Unfortunately, Isaiah Austin not able to come on the show today. He's coordinating a Powder Puff game. Yeah, so he's helping coordinate that. But Trent, both of our emotions were high. Our heart rates were up. That was one of the most intense games, not just with the tech issues, but that game. The championship in the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference quite truly was reflective of the score that we saw. Everything in that game, everything went perfectly in a sense for both teams, and it came down to the last second, which that's always a championship you want. So 2 Patriots franchises won this year, the New England Patriots and the South Haven Patriots.
Well, no one was expecting what happened last night. None of us at the table, and I believe unless you're a South Haven fan, you can't truly say you expected that to happen. Now, no knock on South Haven because they're a great team. Trust me, I've played against them for 5 years.
They're the champions now.
Yeah. You threw me off with that, but it was a great game. Like you said, our emotions were high, and after the game, the emotions got even higher. And just seeing the passion and the heart both teams played with, it's just a game of football you want to watch. You want to be a part of. You want to watch it live. Because I haven't seen a game that passionate. Well, besides the FCA and CCS game, I haven't seen games like that in a long time. And that's something 8-man will bring you because, even like with not having like a big student section cheering them on and it was mostly only parents, and it still felt like the crowd was roaring the whole entire time. It was just that type of game.
Yeah, and it's like we said in the year, you're gonna have your blowout games. You're gonna have your 60-0, your 52-14, your games where teams that are struggling have to play the teams that are doing well. But at some point, the best is gonna play the best. And I feel that at least in 2 out of the 4 games this year that happened. But the best played the best. And we knew we didn't anticipate that kind of game, but we should have. Because, and I think that we took the previous part of the year, the previous game, we took it into too much consideration. There were a lot of variables, and I'll talk about it in a second. But, and also a shout out to you guys. We're at 860 views, I think, on the ball game. We had 97 people listening last night at one time. I mean, it's just you guys and your support.
Breaks all 8-man extreme records.
Exactly. I mean, we always say that we can't. 883 right now, and A73 because 10 of those were probably us in the last hour. But anyways, we always say what we do isn't possible without you guys' support, and that's the facts. That's we can't do anything without y'all, and so we really appreciate everything that you guys have done. All your family listening. I think we had people in Montana, South Carolina, Florida, Ohio. I mean, we had people all over watching. I know Georgia, because the NHSA was keeping an eye. I hate to say St. Dennis was keeping an eye because if CCS would have won, they were going to go to the national tournament in Panama City. And so and where they would have gotten to play Russell Christian, who were the champions in Alabama, and Evangel's going to be NACA this year. So they would have played East Memorial, I think. No, not East Memorial. Anyways, it was a great ball game, and I loved seeing how many times seniors got knocked on their butts and injured, and they would sit out for a little bit of time and come back in. What can you say about Nathaniel Rowley? Kept getting knocked out, and finally in the fourth quarter, he played, but he wasn't out there for every play, but he kept going back in the ball game. Same thing for guys like Nate Green, was down with a knee injury. They've been dealing with a shoulder injury all year, and he's right back in the ball game playing. Just guys, Xavier Vincent and Isaiah Webb, and those two are extremely close to being the best backs in the league. And I would argue they might be. 2 years ago, we had Ben Sahlstrom and Drew Seifert. Seifert played for South Haven. Sahlstrom played for Franklin Classical School. Two great running backs. I think they ended up with like a total of 3,000 yards. I think they both had like 1,500 yards, maybe 12 or 13. We've always had 1,200, 1,300 yard running backs. We had two running backs like that this year, and that's just CCS and South Haven. That's not FCA. That's not Webb. That's not taking any other team into account. That's just those two. And I think finally for the championship, we got to see the top two backs in the league go head-to-head, and it really was head-to-head. And it wasn't just those guys. They had supporting casts. The quarterbacks played well. I think there was maybe one interception last night, maybe. I mean, I if there was any. The one interception. But the quarterbacks played well. The receivers played well. The lines played well. The defenses, I mean, they were so worn out from playing offense, they couldn't play defense. So they were going back and forth. But, you didn't not only have the running backs, you had guys like Isaac Wells from South Haven. You had DJ Jefferson from Christian Community. You had guys running the ball all over. That was two teams coming together and absolutely laying it on the field. And I hate that CCS coughed it up. I'm going to be honest. I was selfish. I wanted to come down to a field goal. I wanted Dan Adams. There was 50 seconds. It almost did. There were 50 seconds, and CCS had a timeout. If they could have driven down the field, now it would have been easier if they had Nathaniel Rowley because he could throw and move them around. But they were going to have to run the ball. I hate seeing the fumble. I wanted it to end dramatically, but it did end dramatically to a certain extent until South Haven just took the kneel down. But I've seen MTAC championship games since 2011. I was in the 2011 one. It's the first one I watched. I've gone back and watched Aaron Academy and Franklin Classical play in 2009, 2010. I've seen the CCS South Haven. That was a close ball game. It was 24-18 or 24-16. It was close. Every championship game I've seen, except for CCS FCA 2 years ago and FCA Lighthouse to a certain extent, those were good ball games. Last night, even taking last week, CCS FCA into the count. Last night was in the top 3 games I've ever watched in my life. And I wasn't there for Swanee Bowling Green, but that was in the top 3 games I've ever watched in my life because nobody took any plays off. The last kickoff of the game, everyone was so hurt that you had the kicker out there taking the kick returns. You had Dan Adams, the kicker, running the kickback. Everyone was pitching into there. And no one was laying out. No one was sitting on the sideline just, moping. CCS was down by 13 points at the beginning of the fourth quarter. They were down 55-42. They came back and took the 3-point lead. They never quit. So I can't say enough about the ball game. My heart breaks for CCS. I was in that position. My team in 2011 lost the championship to Franklin Classical, the last game of their 3P. I have a lot of close friends on that CCS team. From playing there, I know guys from outside of football that I grew up. I played with Colton Rollins' brother. I've known Devery Zapata for 4 years. I've known guys from the Allstar Game last year. My heart breaks for those guys because I know what they're going through. As a senior, you're going to have to live for the rest of your life with the fact that you will never get another chance to beat South Haven. You will never get another chance for me, I will never get another chance to beat Franklin Classical School, to beat St. Andrew Swanee, to beat Hendersonville Christian. I will never get another chance to beat those teams. But it's like that corny saying, don't be sorry. Don't be sad that it's over. Look back and think about what happened. Be glad it happened. Be glad that you got a chance to play the best state championship game, even if you lost, the best state championship game ever. And that's taking into account the TACS championships. There were some good games between South Haven and Macon Road. But, you laugh, but there was.
No, I mean, like, that's because those were the only two people that played.
Exactly. Well, the last 4 years, they played each other. South Macon Road won a close game, then a blowout. And CCS or South Haven won a close game, then a blowout. So, it went both ways. But,
Pleasantview was never there.
Yeah, Pleasantview was never there. Pleasantview was always knocked out in the first round by Macon Road because they had to travel to Memphis. Anyways, That's pretty much how it was. But my heart breaks for CCS, for the CCS guys. It really does. For South Haven, I'm super happy for them. I'm really happy they went from worst to first after what they went through last year and everything that they've gone through. And even us saying they were going to go 2-6 and picking against us.
You mean you?
I mean me, whatever. I picked against them. I didn't think they had this in them to do this year. And they proved me wrong. And I will eat my words. I'll eat crow all day long. I'm super happy for those guys. They deserve it. And I think the thing about South Haven, they got 6 seniors. They got a lot of good juniors and a lot of good freshmen and sophomores coming up. They're going to be somebody to keep an eye on. And Coach Zimmerman is just going to keep doing his thing and being successful.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how Jason Zimmerman coming from Florida into a completely new environment, not necessarily knowing Tennessee and everything around there, to just come in and completely revamp a program and make them champions. That's completely incredible to see, and we've seen those types of stories before in 8-man football. But one thing I do want to quote here on Jordan Flanders, CCS head coach, is that he said after the FCA Colts game, the semi, he looked at the guys and said, "There's nothing I can say that'll make you feel better." What do you think that he said to the guys after the game, even though he couldn't make them feel necessarily better?
It has to be the exact same thing. There's nothing you could say to make it feel better. There's nothing. You're gonna have this pit in your stomach for the longest time. The best remedy that I've found is what I'm doing right now, because when you go out on top, you can pretty much close the book on football, and you can say, "I don't need to play another game. I don't need to watch another game. I've accomplished." But when you feel like you haven't accomplished everything you've wanted to, I think the best remedy is to get involved with football, whether you're helping with Pee Wee, and it might be because you're living vicariously through someone else, but get involved with Pee Wee football. Get involved with middle school football, flag football, upwards. Get involved. Okay, at this point, stop thinking about yourself. Start pouring yourself into someone else. Start putting everything you have into someone else and focus on making someone else better than you were. That's the only thing that's gonna help this. That's the only thing, because if you can have the feeling, this is how it is in my personal life. I've made a lot of mistakes. But if I can help one person be a better person than I am, all those mistakes were worth it to me. Every single one. Even the ones that hurt like crazy. They're worth it. If I make somebody else's life better. If I can pave the road for someone else and someone else can learn from my mistakes. But I don't think there's anything, and I think it hurts more losing a close ball game after a successful season like that than to get beat down year after year after year, and because you lose that hope. You're playing football because you want to play football, and that's what it should be. But I think after having a successful season and losing the ball game like they did, I think that hurts even more because there were expectations. But I am going to be brutally honest. I'm not going to pull any punches on this one. I'm not a homer on this one. I don't think CCS took South Haven seriously enough. I don't think anybody did. I think if FCA would have played South Haven, they wouldn't have taken them seriously. Swanee, Webb. I don't think Lighthouse took it. Nobody took South Haven seriously. And, South Haven, they did a great job. They made that bulletin board material. They took it and said, "Look, guys, everyone is laughing at us." Not laughing, but no one believes in us. Let's take that and use it as motivation and fuel. And I think that they did a great job of doing that. And for CCS, they'd never been in that position. Yeah, they lost. They were losing to Lighthouse in the first quarter. They were losing to FCA late in the game. But it was always close. You were there. It was always within like a couple scores, like 4 points. They had never been down 13 points at the beginning of the fourth quarter all year. That hasn't happened last year. Maybe like Lighthouse last year, but that's it. They've been favorites for a long time. So to not be in the lead, that's something that those players couldn't process. So, but to get back to your point, there's nothing that you can say to make it feel better. But I think what you can do and what you need to do is focus on pouring yourself into other people. And you know, if you have to, it might seem bad, but live vicariously through someone else.
And, of course, as we go into next year, I'm sure that both coaches will continue to try and build their programs to be completely better as franchises. Not only that, but as well as so that they can fully go through and build on their championship success, and Christian community can build off of their second-place success. So congratulations to the South Haven Christian School Patriots on their first championship in the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference.
And let me say something else. Those quarterbacks last night, they're both juniors. So we're going to see them play again next year. And Nathaniel Rowley, the consistency he showed where he would get hurt, go to the sidelines, get treated, right back on the field from the first quarter. Kobe Rojo, you know, he was put in a position last night to be successful, and he was. And that's got to build his confidence because coming into this year, he was completely just or actually it was last year, he was just thrown in there. He was like, okay, I have to be the quarterback. And even this year, he came in injured, and he had Andrew Crawley challenging him for a spot from a freshman, and that had to hurt his confidence. But I think he goes into next year as a senior, as the state championship defending, as the defending state champions, and I think that helps his confidence. For Nathaniel Rowley, this kid is incredible. And I'm looking forward to seeing what each of them are doing, even after they lose their senior linemen, their senior running backs, senior receivers. These quarterbacks are going to step up next year, and they're going to pick up the slack, and they're going to lead these underclassmen that are on each of their teams.
Again, congratulations to the South Haven Christian School Patriots on their 2017 MTAC championship. So we'll hopefully see your success, and I hope that James doesn't predict them at a negative record next year. I'm sure everybody hopes that they won't. I'm sure they won't.
We'll have to look at their schedule, and of course they'll be at the scheduling meeting in January, and we'll see who gets put on their schedule. Obviously, it's going to be teams from the north and stuff. We'll have to see the other variables. Are they going to get some other independent, some other teams? So it'll be a whole combination. But yeah, I don't see how I could pick them at a negative record, just with all the young guys that they have next year, and CCS as well.
So we'll see how they perform it next year, but that's a long time from now before we start making any predictions or anything along those lines. But it's time for us to go fully locked into All-Star mode. The 2017 Extreme All-Star Game is this Saturday, November 11th. That kicks off at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. From
2 p.m. Eastern. Don't show up at 1 p.m. Eastern. Well, you can if you want to watch the warm-ups. But the game, yeah. So it's 2.5 hours from Nashville. So if you leave at, let's say, 11 o'clock, no, wait. You have to leave at 10 o'clock Nashville time so you could get there in time. But I'm excited about it. Obviously, we'll be broadcasting the draft. It's going to be Thursday at noon, and we're going to have coverage for you guys. We're going to try to do a little behind-the-scenes documentary kind of thing and bring you guys even more coverage than we did last year. And we'll try to get you the rosters a little bit faster this year too.
So are we broadcasting it, or is it in a
what we are going to do with that, as far as I know, what we're going to do is just plug in a stream key. We've got an event on our YouTube channel, and it'll be broadcast on our YouTube channel. We've got a guy from the NACA who's broadcasting it, but we're just switching out a stream key on his software.
And if that doesn't work, then it'll be the same as last year. That's if it doesn't work, because we have to prepare for everything. So if it doesn't work, then you can go to the NACA Sports YouTube channel, where you can find last year's All-Star Game. You can go watch that.
1,700 views on that.
1,700 views. It's a great ball game. Yours truly, Spencer Thompson, was on the call. Isaiah Austin on a color commentary. Spencer play-by-play. Trent is the big blob known as number 90 in blue for Team Home. And you can hear me in the background doing PA. But if you could just ignore that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and Isaiah and I will be on call again for the All-Star Game this Saturday from Dayton, Tennessee. So that's going to be a really good game for us to call this Saturday. And if you guys don't already know, the captains for the teams this year are fellow alumni of the All-Star Game. Trent Legate is on Team Home as he chose with a coin toss, and he's a homer, yes. And Team Away is quarterback Elijah Jones, and quarterback Elijah Jones, he has Coach Ryan Scott from the Heat and Trent Legate as Coach Daniel Meek from Hendersonville. Not sure who their assistant coaches are yet. We haven't gotten word. Okay, so it's just the two coaches on there.
Yeah, it's just going to be Coach Meek and Coach Scott, and then
they're the assistant coach. Me and Elijah.
Yeah. You're the celebrity captain coaches. No, but it's going to be a great time. Now, tomorrow night, we are going to do our roster announcement show. Yes, I know I'm getting ahead of the schedule. We're going to do our roster announcement show. We're going to do our mock draft. We're trying to finalize a few players, finalize a few roster spots. So I know we've kind of tipped our hand and given away. Obviously, if you've been selected to the All-Star Game, you know it. But if you don't, but you might not know who else is going to go. So that's what we're going to do. And Trent or Spencer, I'll actually let you explain how the mock draft will work tomorrow night.
Quite literally, we're announcing the roster tomorrow, and then James Shannon and Isaiah.
As we do the draft. So once you hear your name called in the draft, that's the announcement that you're going to be going.
Oh, I thought we were just announcing the roster and then drafting.
No, that's kind of redundant to announce the roster.
Department of Redundancy Department.
Exactly. That's his favorite. That's
Nice job, James. So, yeah, your name is going to be announced in the All-Star Draft tomorrow, not full roster first. It's just you're going to have to tune in and hope that your name is called off in the mock draft between James Shannon and Isaiah Austin, who it won't be the All-Star captains doing the draft as they have their own picks. Maybe they'll take some opinions from James and Trent on that. We know at least Trent won't, but maybe Elijah will. Who knows? But we'll see how that all. Trent saying all Bowling Green on his Bowling Green bias. Hey, he's wearing green today. It says Warriors hoodie on there, but he's wearing green on his hoodie there. Unless my colorblindness is kicking in.
Well, the only problem with that is you can't. I mean, you want to see the away jerseys for Bowling Green. But another reason for doing this is, what we're going to do. We're going to tell you guys about. It is gray, yeah.
Yes, colorblind, green, brown, and red.
We love all of our colorblind friends, by the way. We're not making fun of you.
The Tennessee School for the Colorblind?
Anyways, no, but as we do the announcement and the roster, the mock draft and everything, as we announce a player, we're going to break it down. We're going to talk to you about their stats, tell you about the players, and just completely – it's been a laugh fest all day. We're all super tired. I got in it, too. We're in a good mood. We had a great ball game last night. It's All-Star Week. I mean, how could you be in a bad mood?
I don't know.
Anyway, you could have lost the state championship, but, yeah. But anyways, too soon. Anyways, no, like I said, much love to you guys. But, yeah, we're going to have a great time tomorrow night, breaking everything down. That show's going to be at 7 p.m., and we'll send out a reminder tomorrow, but it'll be right here on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, so we'll be doing that mock draft live tomorrow on our YouTube channel, so be sure to tune in to that. We also posted the other events that we have for All-Star Week. There may be some surprise broadcasts coming up that we're not going to reveal yet, but we have at least announced on our YouTube channel the events for them. The actual draft will be broadcast on Thursday at noon, and the game, of course, will be broadcast on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Noon East. For the draft, noon Eastern, yes. So those are at least a guaranteed broadcast that we will be live, but there may be some other surprises during the week. So make sure you subscribe to us and click the bell icon or tap it if you're on a smartphone so that you can get a notification every time we go live and you don't miss any of our broadcasts or anything. Because I will say we do have surprise broadcasts, or at least secret broadcasts we are going to have in All-Star Weekend, but nothing. the only two that are 100% announced that we are doing are the draft on Thursday and the game on Saturday. So be sure to subscribe and make sure that bell is clicked so that you can get a notification every time we go live. With that, I believe we are essentially done here because we don't have any more games to preview. Oh, actually, you know what, Trent? I think Bowling Green has another game. Who you think you taking in that game?
Not Bowling Green.
Not Bowling Green this time. That's a first. James, CCS has another game. Who you taking with that one, huh?
What do you mean CCS has another game?
Yeah, I'm really confused.
Okay, it's in the facetious sense of trying to keep its spirit of how we predicted games at the end.
Well, that went right over my head. Here's something I do want to mention, though. I mentioned the NHSA 8-man tournament in Florida. And obviously,
is South Haven going to that?
South Haven not.
He's having some tech issues on his side. His mic's seeming a little bit quiet over there, so he'll be worked up. But he's saying there's the Florida tournament, the 8-man football tournament. No, it sounds really distant. You might want to reconnect and disconnect there, James.
How about that?
There, it sounds good.
Are we good? All right. No, I don't think they were invited. I'm trying to look up. There were a lot of good 8-man teams this year that got invited but decided to not go. Because you're going to have Russell Christian out of Meriden, Mississippi. They won the CAF championship down in Alabama. Yeah, it's a Mississippi team playing in the Alabama League. You have Hope Christian from Alabama, and then you have Life Academy out of Bakersfield, California. They've always been there, and they've played a lot of good games against different teams. I know they played South Haven 2 years ago, and they might have played last year. But it was Christian community. I don't believe they're going to go to Florida. If I'm correct, I don't think South Haven's going to go. I don't think Tennessee's going to send anybody. I'm going to be honest. I think the days of the national tournament, for the most part, is going to be done because it's getting now to where as soon as football is over, as soon as the championship's over, teams don't want to pay extra money to go play in a tournament where they could get whooped up on, as opposed to going straight into basketball. So I think the days of the tournament are dying. I know the NACA has already died. But I hate to see it, but at the same time, things change and seasons change and the trends change. So, we'll keep an eye on the NHSA tournament. That's this Saturday and Monday. Keep an eye on it for you guys and just kind of see what's going on. But I'm jacked. It's All-Star Weekend. We're gonna have a blast. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Like I said, we got the show coming up tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Mock draft, roster announcement. Y'all buckle in because it's probably going to be about a 2-hour show. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. I'm looking forward to doing a mock draft with Isaiah Austin, and we're going to have fun.
Yeah, so that basically wraps up this Sunday's Extreme Radio built by MDI Construction Inc. MDIConst.com for all your commercial property needs, or MDI Construction Inc. on Facebook. So that basically wraps it up. Next broadcast is tomorrow with the mock draft for the All-Star Game, followed by the actual draft for the All-Star Game on Thursday and the All-Star Game on Saturday. So be sure to have your subscribed button appear for our YouTube channel with the bell icon clicked so you can get a notification anytime we go live. And unless Trent or James have anything else, that basically wraps it up for this week. So for James Shannon and Trent Legate, I'm Spencer Thompson. He's not on, Isaiah Austin isn't on the show today, so I don't say on behalf of him yet. Oh, is he a family member now?
He's a family member.
You realize you can't be heard on Discord here, so it's distant. Is he a family member now?
Yes, Isaiah is a family member. Here, hold on.
Yeah, the mic was muted when you said that, so they can at least.
Isaiah is part of the family.
Okay, so confirm there, James. Okay.
And I also want to tell y'all, I'm sorry, I'm bad about interrupting. Want to tell y'all, next Sunday is our last show of the year. We're going to recap the All-Star Game. We're going to talk, just kind of give our final thoughts on the year. Oh, you missed it. But we are going to take some time off. It's been more time with our families. We're going to step away from football. So because it's been a long season. But we're going to have our last show next Sunday. Make sure you listen to that show. I think Jonathan Thompson's wanting me to come on Tuesday night. So y'all check that out. I'll be on with him. And we're going to have a blast to close out the year. But it's been a fantastic year. So Spencer, I'll stop it there.
Yep. So for James Shannon, Trent Legate, and now Isaiah Austin, I'm Spencer Thompson. Thank you for tuning into this week's Extreme Radio Show. We hope to see you tomorrow for the mock draft and with the rest of the James preparing for his sign off, preparing for his signature sign off. He's like, just get ready. So Trent's got something here. Do you?
And I just want to say, as much as I hate South Haven, I have to say congratulations.
Congratulations again to the South Haven Christian School Patriots for the championship. Just making sure. I thought James had another thing there. All right. Again, on behalf of James Shannon, Trent Legate, and Isaiah Austin, I'm Spencer Thompson. Thank you. We will see you in the next broadcast.